Hi everyone, it's Paul again. Hope you're all doing okay. Hope you're all having a cracking festival. And yeah, this is the video for day 4. Recorded a bit later today. I just wanted to see how the new course was doing, ground-wise, and how it's riding before I posted this video. Day 3 is now just in the book. And this is the video for what is always a sad day, the last day of the festival. And yeah, as always, day 4 kicks off in the 120, which is the Triumph Hurdle. For the 4-year-olds, it's a Group 1, Grade 1 over 2 miles. And on paper, it's between the first 4 in the market. Anything, look, other things can win. It does happen. But on all known form, there's nothing outside the first 4 that's shown anything what I would call of note or meaningful. I'll go to the one who doesn't make up the 3, and that is Lady Alan Vega for Willie Mullins, Paul Townend. She's got really solid form. She always runs a good race. She's 14-1 here, but as everyone knows, I always go off form, and she's been comfortably held by Hello Neighbour, the Gavin Cromwell trained Hello Neighbour, the last twice, and I think has to find about £8 of improvement or a £8 drop off from Hello Neighbour to turn the tables. So while I think she'll run really well, I think she'll just fall foul. But I've noticed some bookmakers are actually paying top 4. I fully expect her to be in the top 4 at 14-1. On Hello Neighbour, Gavin Cromwell trained, Donahue taking the ride. He won a Grade 2 on debut. Now, so go and win a Grade 2 on debut is pretty impressive, especially for a 4-year-old horse. Then went on to a Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival and did the job there. Absolutely nothing wrong in it, and the form is really solid. I just think, though, and it might just be coincidence, they're both trained in England, the top 2 in the market are going to be incredibly hard to beat. We'll start with the favourite, which is East India Doc. James Owen trains, Sam Twiston Davis takes the ride. 3 for 3, done absolutely nothing wrong. 2 course and distance wins, 1 win up at Wetherby. The one thing with this horse absolutely tanks through its races. In time, I think it's going to be more of a 3-miler than a 2-miler, if I'm being completely honest, but has done absolutely nothing wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, the form of the win on Trials Day has taken a serious hit with Stencil the other day, was a very short price, heavily fancied favourite, but finished out the places, ran well for a long way, but ultimately wasn't good enough. But East India Doc comprehensively beat that one that day. So it'll be interesting to see on the new course whether he can do the same again. However, I'm going with the Nicky Henderson trained Lalamba, Nico de Boinville taking the ride. This one is 2 for 2, and everything it's done has been absolutely spot on. This horse seems to be really professional. Seen it go forward, seen it get held up. It's just got a feeling of a really good horse, this. Now, different people in that yard for certainly in the last 6 weeks, definitely over the last 2, have said that since the last run, this horse has come on a lot, apparently, and I mean a lot. Now, that would put it absolutely in terms of rating. If East India Doc runs to the level it's at and Lalamba comes on again, it puts them pretty much bang on level. But I just think with Lalamba having only 1 start less than East India Doc, there might be a little bit more to come. So I am. There's nothing between them. It's virtually a coin toss. So I am going to go with Lalamba to win. I just think as well, East India Doc really goes hard from the front, and this Lalamba really travels. So if he can get within striking distance, I think it might actually set up for him. 1, 2, 3 then for the Triumph Hurdle. Lalamba from East India Doc and Hello Neighbour. The 2 o'clock is the County Hurdle. It's a Class 1 over 2 mile 1. It's notoriously difficult race, this. So what we'll do is we'll start with last year's winner, which is absurd. Willie Mullins trained, Danny Mullins taking the ride. As I said, won this in really taking fashion last year. Was off the pace, but it was the way he came through and then powered clear. It was really impressive. Don't get me wrong, is like £9 better off. He's like £9 worse at the weights this year, but it was a taking performance. What was a bit mad though, after that race, he then went on a flat campaign, ran a really good race at Royal Ascot. I was actually at Chester, it's one of my local courses, the day he won there, a listed race. And then ended up going over to Australia for the Melbourne Cup and was a really, really close fifth. Only beaten about 5.5 lengths. The one thing that slightly worries me on this one, there's been no prep run this year. So his last run was in Australia. So they've come straight here. But given the way he won last year, and especially considering the way they campaign it as well, it's definitely a spring summer horse. There could still be more to come from Absurd. The favourite is Cargeese. Cargies, I don't know how to pronounce that one. Willie Mullins, Paul Townend. This is an off 11 stone 3. Obviously, this horse came second in the Triumph last year and then went on to Aintree and came second to Sergino. So if you actually look at it, I know people are going to go Madgeburg won the Triumph, but even though we made a massive mistake, still actually run well in the circumstances in the Arkle. Sergino is high quality. So those pieces of form are absolutely rock solid. After Aintree, even then went to Punchestown and then won a Grade 1 as well. So it's amazing. It's amazing form. The concern I've got, if I was going to have concern on this, is has only had one run this season and was turned over at 2-5 and jumped like a pig in an alley that day. But this horse has got all class, and I mean all class, and could be absolutely thrown in off 11 stone 3 if whatever was bothering it the last day has, they've got over it, but it does temper that enthusiasm. I love McClory. Emmett Mullins trained, Mark Walsh taking the ride, JP McManus owned. What a weight this is, 10 stone 12 on McClory. It's a beautiful weight. 6 years old. Won his last two in big fields as well, so the hustle and bustle of the county will have absolutely no impact on him whatsoever. It'll be absolutely fine. Lovely mark, and only had 5 starts, so there's a lot of improvement still to come on this one. And all things being equal, I think all the signs, all the trends are pointing to McClory. Lark in the Morning's in for Joseph O'Brien and JJ Slevin. Obviously, this one won the Fred Winter really, really well last year, but he's only run twice since then and has been awful on both runs. Ideally, I believe with this horse, softer ground is what he needs, like in the Fred Winter last year. Don't get me wrong, 10 stone 8 is a phenomenal weight if he's back to form and returning to Cheltenham brings about that improvement. But there's no guarantee of that, and he's only currently around 5-1, and I think that's plenty short enough. Ethical Diamond is interesting for Willie Mullins, Patrick Mullins taking the ride. 11 stone 5 here. Was poor in the Triumph last year, but potentially on a good mark if he's improved. Only won a maiden over hurdles. That was his last run. Really, really nice run. Nice performance, to be honest with you. And interesting if he steps forward from that. The question is, again, if he steps forward for that. And the other one to mention here is Volgron for the Skeltons, Harry and Dan Skelton. He's actually run on the old course 3 times and each time performed really, really well. My concern is raced a few times on the new course and hasn't run to within £10 of the mark that he run over the old course. And it is quite a different course. So that would be a concern. And his last run was really, really poor. So again, that's another big concern I would have, especially as there's potentially some lurkers in this field. But for the win, and also like I'm looking now, Cargeese is 5-2 favourite, and I just think it's 7-1 McClory, with a lot of bookmakers paying top 7 here. I can't see him not hitting the top 7 at the very least. So he is the selection. 1, 2, 3 then for the county hurdle, McClory from Cargeese and Absurd. Brings us on to the 240, which is the Mears Chase. It's the Grade 2 over 2 mile 4, and a lot of the usual suspects are back in here, including like the 1, 2, 3 from last year. The fly in the ointment could be Bride's Hill, Cromwell and Donoghue. Bride's Hill has performed really well and actually beat Allegory Devassi quite well in the last run. Allegory Devassi is actually now better at the ratings at the weights as it would be for that one, and has the proven course form. Bright Hill's best runs and RPRs have all been definitely on flatter tracks, never run here before, so there would be a lot taken on trust. Limerick Lace obviously won this last year. Gavin Cromwell, Jack Kennedy taking the ride here. Weird to see Jack riding in the McManus colours. Didn't perform well at all in the Betfair Chase, and I really fancied it this year. In the Betfair Chase, I thought, given the performance over much longer trips, I thought, yeah, that'll be perfect for it, but maybe the ground was too soft. Much better the next day, but I do have this suspicion that this horse does need soft ground. Okay, don't get me wrong, that Betfair Chase at Haydock, it probably shouldn't have been run because that was like bottomless ground, but I think this one definitely needs to get his toe in, and based on the times today, it's riding fast, and that slightly tempers enthusiasm. One who I think is overpriced for definite in this one at 14-1 is She Could Be Anything, largely because she could be anything. Gordon Elliott trains, Sam Ewan's taking the ride. She's won at graded and listed level over fences, so there's absolutely nothing wrong in that form. Last time out came a good third to Bioluminescence, who I really fancied for this race this year, but they made a catastrophic mistake in my eyes of running her 3.5 weeks ago, where she came second to Spindlebury in really soft going, and it was a real slogfest. It's not coincidence that the first two home that day aren't here today, having been prominent in the betting. So, but that's a really good piece of form. Her best form is actually on decent ground as well. So what she's actually achieved, like the graded and listed chases, that was on better ground. Then run decent behind Bioluminescence on soft. Back to good ground here, 14-1. Could be a huge price on that one. I do suspect it's going to come to the top two in the market. Not surprisingly, both trained by Willie Mullins. Dino Blue for Willie Mullins with Mark Walsh taking the ride, and Allegory Devassi with Paul Townend taking the ride. Now, Dino Blue is becoming a standard dish, her running at Cheltenham. She's running the Grand Annual. She's running this Mears Chase. If I'm not mistaken, she even ran in the Mears Novices Hurdle a few years ago as well. Never got the head in front where it needs to happen, and was second last year. This year, very, very solid, consistent form. And goes into it in pretty much the same form, same rating as last year. However, Allegory Devassi this year, I've always been a fan of this horse, as you know, and I'm going for a change of luck. The last twice in this race has not had a good ride at all. And I'm hoping now they're starting to learn from her a bit. But her form this year has definitely noticeably been better. And her jumping has been much better as well. And the one is, she used to be a front runner, which is how I wish they had run her. But while they've been settling her in, I've noticed in the last few runs, she's been settling a lot better. I think she's still learning. I think the better ground will help her jumping as well. And she's got brilliant form when she was originally over 2 miles. So she's got that turn of foot. Now, Dino Blue is currently even money 11-10. Whilst Allegory Devassi currently around 4-1, I think she's the value in this race, you know. And even though Dino Blue finished ahead of a fair and square, she wasn't that far behind last year. And I just have a feeling she might turn the form around. 1, 2, 3 then for the Mears Chase, Allegory Devassi from Dino Blue, and I'm going to put She Could Be Anything in there as well. The 3:20 is the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. It's a grade 1 over 3 miles, and I am gutted before we start on this. Anyone who's followed me on the WhatsApp service, etc. and stuff like that knows I've been saying all season, when I've tipped him up and he's won and done all of this, yellow clay, Albert Bartlett, 3 miles written all over him. I actually had him anti-post for the Albert Bartlett. He was still in there and I thought, what quid's in here? And then they made the decision to go yesterday to the 2.5 mile trip. I was absolutely gutted. Not gutted because I tipped up, as you know, if you watched the video for yesterday, the New Lion, who won really well. But the yellow clay was there, came into it, and what happened? The speedier horse got to him. He would have been, because this isn't a vintage renewal, I don't think, he would have been an easy winner of this race, I believe. But hey-ho, that's racing. They made the choice. I think it was the wrong one. But, you know, I'm sure they were happy with second. The favourite here, understandably, is the big Westerner. Henry de Bromhead, Dara O'Keefe taking the ride. Unbeaten in 2 hurdles start, including a Grade 2 latest. Look at the breeding of this horse. It is all stamina. This horse as well is a proper beast as well. And when it goes over fences, possibly over further, this horse could be really, really good. Now, don't get me wrong, for a current novice hurdler, there's better ones around it, i.e. the Yellow Clay would have beaten this one, no problem at all. But you can only deal with the cards you dealt with, and this one's done nothing wrong, has clearly got an engine, goes on all grounds, Grade 2 latest, only 2 starts and more to come. This horse will take a hell of a lot of beating. Jasmine DeVos in here for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. Was a bumper, won the champion bumper last year, actually. If you look, though, at his form, he's been beaten comprehensively, but by good horses. Beaten in 2 Grade 1s by the Yellow Clay, and beaten by Final Demand in his last race. And that one, to be fair, I know it was favourite, came third, but ran a great race. Final Demand, when that goes over fences over further, by the way, that's another one to look out for. But this one needs the return to Cheltenham and the Hill to bring about more improvements. I think it's likely to happen, and it's bizarre because this is a Grade 1, but I don't think there's anything in there of the class of like Yellow Clay or Final Demand here. But it's a step into the unknown going up to 3 miles. But saying that, a lot of bumper winners do end up as 3 milers. I always go to, you know, the likes of Q Card back in the day as a prime example, and they go and show the metal over a lot further. So this one's, I can see the improvement coming, but there's risks attached. Jet Blue is hard to weigh up. Daniel Cotton trains. James Reevely taking the ride. Was really, really impressive course and distance winner in December. Don't get me wrong, nowhere near the standard of this race. But he visually looked very good. However, the horses in behind that day have let the form down badly. Like really badly. So the strength of that race, you've got to take at face value. And this is a lot harder for all. The horse might have come on, and it could, you know what, you can only beat what's in front of you. The other horses can let it down, but they might have just underperformed. But there would be risks attached to Jet Blue. Wendigo is interesting. Jamie Snowden trains, Gavin Sheehan taking the ride. 2 out of 4 over hurdles, but has always run really race. However, in terms of franked form, this one's arguably got the best piece of frank form. Came second in the Challow Hurdle to the New Lion, only beaten about 4 and a bit lengths, and was staying on at the end over that 2 mile 4 trip. So in terms of form, that's been massively franked. Since then, came out and won an egg and spoon race at, I think it was Wetherby, next time out, at about 1 to 10. It was more like, rather than give it a gallop, you know, go and win a race type thing. But this one could definitely have more to come. And the way he stayed on behind the New Lion definitely suggests that this trip will bring out more improvement. And at a big price, Ballybow is quite interesting for Gordon Elliott. Sam Ewan rides in the Jigginstown colours. Was a good Grade 3 winner on his first try over 3 mile latest, and really seemed to appreciate the step up in distance. Really doughty battle of this one. Really loves to get stuck in, and I just think with the 3 mile trip with the hill, and he's got a really good attitude. I think he's the type who will definitely be there boxing on. A lot of bookmakers paying top 5 each way on this. Ballybow 20 to 1 currently. There's worse each way bets, and I do think he might make the frame. But for the winner, I am going for the big Westerner. He's just got the profile of an Albert Bartlett winner. And while, as I said, this race has lost a bit of the gloss for me, I won't lie, you can only see what's in front of you, and I think the big Westerner is a worthy favourite, and currently at 5 to 1 favourite. That's a really good price. 1, 2, 3 then for the Albert Bartlett, the big Westerner from Wendigo and Ballybow. Which brings us on to the big one of the day, the big one of the week, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. It's a Grade 1 over 3 mile 2. And let's be honest, it's all about, will history be made here by Galloping Deschamps, Willie Mullins, Paul Townend. This horse, do you know what? I've spent time the last few years watching races, old races and stuff, and past Gold Cups and form this season, this horse is phenomenal. Like, this is an unbelievable horse. His Gold Cup win last year was absolutely breathtaking, the way he travelled through that race. His first Gold Cup win when he came from last to basically first. This horse, you can ride him anywhere you want, and you've seen it this season. You can anchor him out the back, you can front run him, you can race in prominent midfield. He's that blend of stamina and gears. And for me, he is definitely the best staying chaser since Corso Star. You can never, until they bring out an AI package, you can never put one against the other. Galloping Deschamps, full tilt against Corso Star. But he's the best for me since Corso Star. And that last time out at Dublin Racing Festival, what impressed me is jumps the last, and it's what he finds after the last. Like Factor File, who's just absolutely warped the Ryanair today. He looked like he was standing still. He just destroyed him the time before over Christmas. Same again. If he's in that form, he's unstoppable. And for me, it's good for racing if he can go and match what Best Mate did. Nothing against Best Mate. That was a massively substandard era. This era, over the last 2 and 3 seasons, there's been high quality horses, and he's seen them all off. And to be honest, I don't think it's a vintage Gold Cup at all. And I'm really, even though the price is prohibitive, I really hope and think he's going to go and do it. The main danger, obviously, by the look of it, looks like being Banbridge for Joseph O'Brien, JJ Slevin. To be honest, I think he may have even beaten a Nurgaman over 2 mile first time out, but before he fell. However, one really, really impressive victory in the King George over Christmas at Kempton. Form of that's been semi-let down today by Ile Francais. I don't know if anything came to light there. But didn't run his race today, and I don't think it was the course. He jumped fine, travelled fine, did everything. So on a bare line of form, that's not the best. And Lon Press as well, since then, came third that day and has gone on again. The ground looks like it's come right for him, and I understand why they're going for the Gold Cup. But it's a massive difference between 3 mile around Kempton and 3 mile 2 around Cheltenham with the hill. You can I've seen good 2 mile horses stay 3 mile around Kempton, but they won't still stay 3 mile 2 in a Gold Cup. Nagging Dowsey might be as well. He's good left-handed, but slightly better going right-handed is a potential possibility for me as well. But I think he's going to hit the frame because it's not the best Gold Cup, but I don't think he's going to come first unless, God forbid, anything happens to Galloping Deschamps. I know the way you're thinking is interesting. Gavin Cromwell, Mark Walsh, because JP McManus paid a small fortune to supplement this for the race. Looking back now, he's probably gutted he didn't put Factor File in and keep his supplement fee in his wallet, but you never know. This horse was an easy winner of the Kinmure last year. Easy, travelled around, and you could spot him the winner from a mile out. Looked like he had just joined in and ran, but Gold Cup is a lot different to a Kinmure. But saying that, he's still a youngish horse and he's another year older. After that Kinmure, he went on to win the Grade 1 at Aintree as well. So he's got solid form in the book. But you've got to go and look at current form. He's run against Galloping Deschamps twice this season and been beaten 16 lengths and 8 lengths. So, again, he's going to have to break down the average of that. He is going to have to hope Galloping Deschamps underperforms by a stone, or he finds a stone of improvement. And I don't know if that's going to happen. Monty Starr, Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore. It was a decent performance in second in the RSA last year. But the form since then has not been good, if I'm being honest. Not disastrous, but not good. And it will be a shock if he's only found about a stone and a bit improvement to go and win a Gold Cup. For all he could run well, because he did like the course last year. Corbett's Cross a year ago, you would have said, very active Gold Cup horse, and he's in here now. Emmett Mullins, Jack Kennedy takes the ride. He won the National Hunt Chase, or as I still call it, the 4 miler last year, really, really well, beating the likes of Embassy Gardens, who's since gone on and won a graded race this year. After he won the 4 miler, he then came third in the Aintree Bowl, dropped back to 3 mile and a bit on a flat track like Aintree, and that was a really good performance. However, for me, his runs this season have been below standard, And I think as well, JP wouldn't have paid to go and put I Know the Way You're Thinking in if Corbett's Cross was doing everything right on the track and at home. Looking at the other ones as well, you've got like The Real Whacker is capable on his day, but highly inconsistent. And the rest, it's hard to make. Like, you know, Ahoy Seniors in there, on his day, great, highly inconsistent, but it's all about Galloping Deschamps and his date with Destiny, and I really, really hope he does it. 1, 2, 3 then for the Cheltenham Gold Cup, Galloping Deschamps from I Know the Way You're Thinking and Banbridge. Which brings us on to the 440, which is the Fox Hunter Chase. It's a Class 2 over 3 mile 2. This is almost like the Amateur Riders Gold Cup, basically, same course trip, everything. The favourite, understandably, is Angel's Dawn. Curling Train King taking the ride. Yeah, this one won the Kinmure 2 years ago in a really good fashion, staying on well at the end. Beat a horse called Stumptown that day. I actually tipped up Stumptown if people want to look back on that one. And then Stumptown's obviously gone and won the cross country yesterday, did it really well. He actually fell in this race 2 out when absolutely cruising last year. Someone told me earlier on today it hit 2.4, nearly just over even money in running that day. Hasn't raced under all since, but had gone 2 for 2 in point-to-points, winning them dead easy. Completely understand why this one is favourite. Will It Go Ahead is interesting here for Gordon Elliott's Scallon taking the ride. Really decent point-to-point form, and now 1 to 2 in Hunter Chases. The last win, though, in the Hunter Chase, the last time out, was really impressive, and it was the first time stepped up beyond 3 mile. 3 mile 1 did all of the best work late. So another furlong here, 3 mile 2 with the hill, could bring about more improvements, and that one is a real live wire. It's on the Line is interesting here. Emmett Mullins, Derek O'Connor takes the ride. JP McManus owned. He has come second in this for the last 2 years, both going agonisingly close each time. After this race last year, he actually went and won the Fox Hunter over the Grand National fences on the Thursday, and then went to Punchestown and won the Hunter Chase there. Very good horse on his day. The concern has been nowhere near the same level of form this year. For saying that, often a lot of these horses, it's all about Cheltenham, isn't it? And Cheltenham form. On current form, you couldn't put him up, but on the fact that he's come second in this twice and likes the course, he's dangerous. For saying that, his runs coming into Cheltenham the last 2 years have been a lot better than they are now. Rye Hill is in here for Ross O'Sullivan. Shanahan taking the ride. Really solid form. And to be fair, absolutely slammed It's on the Line, who I've just mentioned, in his last race. I've watched it. It's on the Line was getting scrubbed for half a mile out, and this one just tanked through the race. Really impressive. So that's good. However, looking at the back form, it's comfortably held by the favourites here, Angel's Dawn, on all back form. So could see it running well, but on working on the form lines, he seems to have the beating of It's on the Line, but not of Angel's Dawn. But he could run well. Fairly Famous at 33 to 1 is quite interesting here. For Mrs. Andrews Train, Gina Andrews rides. I'm guessing that's mother and daughter, but I don't know. Won the Hunter Chase at the May meeting at Cheltenham last year over course and distance, which is really good. Then went on to that really big prize Hunter Chase at Stratford not long after that, and became a really good third, which is solid form. Again, following a similar route to Angel's Dawn, hasn't raced over fences, 2 for 2 in point to points this year, and as I said, 33 to 1 in places. That seems massively overpriced to me. And these amateur riders races, let's face it, anything can happen. All Mankind a few years ago was thought of as like grade 1 horse for like Ryanair chases and Arkles and all of this. Career hasn't really panned out the same, though, has it? James Owen Train, Chadwick taking the ride. Has had, as I said, very classy back in the day, such a strange campaign this year. Was over fences, then went back over hurdles for a while and did nothing, then went back to points and actually won 2 out of 2. So he's gone through like a mad, like, you know, build up to the festival here. The bigger worry I've got for this horse is, other than one run, which was his first ever run at Cheltenham when he was a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, when he won and did well, he's been back to Cheltenham 3 times and underperformed every time. Usually goes bowling along this one. I just wonder if flatter tracks are ideally what he needs. But he's a bit of a fly in the ointment. Now, one you've got to mention here, finally, is Shearer for Paul Nicholls, with his daughter Olive Nicholls taking the ride. 4 for 4 over fences this year, done absolutely nothing wrong. Won on ground from good to heavy, seems to go on any ground. He's a possible front runner angle, this one. Seems to enjoy racing prominently. And if he can get loose on the lead, could give everyone a massive run at 12 to 1. His jumping so far seems to have been solid, and Paul Nicholls does have a good record in this race. Even if he doesn't win, he has horses. He's had, like, you know, Pasha de Polder, Shantou Flyer, different ones all go to this race and run a really, really solid race. So this is a lot harder than what he's been going up against, but he could certainly give a good spin for your money with a lot paying top 5. But for the win, I am actually going with Angel's Dawn. As I said, it was very unlucky fall 2 years ago. Previous Kim Muir winner, and it looks like everything's been built up around this race. 1, 2, 3 then for the Fox Hunter Chase, Angel's Dawn from Will It Go Ahead. And do you know what? I'm going to put Fairly Famous in there as well, because that's overpriced at 33 to 1. Which brings us on to the concluding race of day 4, and sadly the concluding race of the 2025 festival, concluding race of the festival each year. And that is the Martin Pike Conditional Jockey Handicap Hurdle. It's a Class 2 over 2 mile 4. And this race over the years, if you just spend tonight, go and look back through the last 10 years of winners and places and look at some of the names who have gone through this race. It's like a roll call of quality. So this is a stepping stone quite often for very, very good horses. And the rumour is, and I've been backing someone, and everyone, I've had a lot of messages on it today on the WhatsApp service. I tipped up a horse in November anti-post for this because I knew it was going for this race. I've got quite a bit on it at 12 to 1 and 10 to 1 anti-post, a bit 8 to 1 anti-post. And I know a lot of my followers on that have as well. And it is a bit of a flyer, but apparently this could be potentially something out of this world. And that is Kopek Demi, Willie Mullins trained, young jockey, conditional jockey. Kelly takes the ride. I don't know much about him. Only 5 years old. Massively progressive in France all the way up to October. And then I got the nod on this one in November, just before, days before JP McManus spent a small fortune buying this horse. A small fortune indeed. At 5 years old, the rumour is it was up there with what he paid for the New Lion. As a 5-year-old who's never raced in England, that's a phenomenal sum of money. But this horse's breeding is like, if you could get a horse bred from the ground up, it would be this. His profile seems to be absolutely amazing and growing, and JP bought it. The plan all along was to come directly for this Martin Pike hurdle, and there's been money on it, not just anti-post, but certainly in the last week on this. He moved from France to Willie Mullins in January, and everything has been about this race. He's been off for nearly a year. And I think that's by design, because he is a big horse. He's a strapping horse, this one. And obviously last year he was a 4-year-old, progressed really well. But as the horse grows, you want to give him time to grow, time to develop, time to school, and time to be sold for big money. It's what happens out of France a lot of the time. Off 11 stone 3, there's nothing to go off. But since October, November, this is the only horse I've been hearing about for a long, long time, that it's really good. And Kopek Demi, I'm hoping is going to be proven to be a cut above a lot of these. The form pick is Wadhu, Gordon Elliott, Gilligan taking the ride, another 5-year-old mare. This one is actually giving weight to Kopek Demi, which is pretty staggering, really. 11 stone 8. Completely different to Kopek Demi. Where Kopek Demi has been brought along slow, this one is 6 for 6 over hurdles, including a course and distance win from Joyeuse in January. Joyeuse kind of franked the form, winning what was the Betfair hurdle, but then didn't frank it by not running great in the Meuse the other day. But, 6 for 6, you can only beat what's in front of you. Strong vibes about this one as well all winter. And I think this one is going to run a really, really solid race. East Injury Express is in here for Nicky Henderson, Freddie Gordon taking the ride. This one's 6 years old. 10 stone 10, so lovely weight on this one. 2 for 2 since going to handicaps. Looked all right early doors in his career. As soon as he went to handicaps, he's definitely stepped forward another level. Will probably have to step forward a lot more, but at 14 to 1 could run well at least for a very, very long way. No Ordinary Joe is in here for Nicky Henderson. Gingle has taken the ride on this. He came second in this race 2 years ago. 2 years ago. That would have been a Rocco, I think it would have been. But disappointed in 7th last year. Only run 3 times since then. And has not really shown anything. Obviously, has been around a lot longer than a lot of these. Shoney likes the course though, apart from that run in 7th last year. But on current form, it looks like he's a little bit below it, to be honest with you. One who could be anything in here is Nurse Susan for Dan Skelton, Tristan Durrell taking the ride, in off 11 stone. This horse has been off the track for 418 days. So that is the best part of getting on for a year and a half now. But before that was very, very smart horse, including a course and distance win. Whether it's fit to go after 418 days off, I don't know. And I tell you what, this is an unbelievably competitive race to throw someone in after a year and a half off. Saying that, in off 11 stone, and if goes well fresh, that horse could be anything, but there's obviously risks attached to it in that sense. And it was off with an injury. It was a sprained tendon, not like a copectomy where it was done on purpose. It's a sprained tendon. And I also read in a Cheltenham preview back in February, in January, Skelton said, I'd like to get a run into her before Cheltenham. He's obviously not managed to. That slightly tempers enthusiasm. Tap on the Go is fascinating for Gordon Elliott, Mikey O'Connor taking the ride, in off 11 stone 2. He actually beat McClory, who I've tipped up in the county hurdle, in November. And that is I think that's a really solid piece of form. Massively below par the last twice, but they dropped him to 2 mile, which I do not understand when he did all of his best work at the end, over 2.5, to drop him back to 2 miles. But it's interesting, his mark has come down. He got in off 11.2 and now back up to 2 mile 4. I think there could be a bit of skullduggery going on there. And if it is, Gordon Elliott knows how to place a horse. He could run a really good race. But one horse I've got to mention who is massively overpriced, and that is Minella Sixo for Gordon Elliott as well. Cohen taking the ride. He was a really good course and distance second in October on the old course, not the new course, the old course, running on well late. The new course takes a lot more getting than the old course. So I think the stiffer finish and the more galloping trap will actually work in this one's favour. Since then, he's been placed in a grade 2 and a grade 3 in Ireland, which is really solid form, and was cruising at Haydock last time out in February and came down 3 out. He definitely would have I think he would have won, but he definitely would have been in the 3. I'm certain of that one. This horse is 33 to 1. Now, I don't like backing horses on the back of a fall. Okay, Lossiemouth was a freak, fell and came and did arguably the performance of the week. But Minella Sixo, I think that is massively overpriced at 33 to 1. Again, with a lot of bookies paying top 6, or 5, certainly 6 in this one. But for the win, I've got to go with what I know, and that is Copectomy. I'm banking on this one, hopefully being what everybody at the Mullins Yard and what I was being told last October, November is saying, that this could be something special. There is an element of faith in it, obviously after a year and never run in England, but this race, as I said earlier, it generates superstars, and I'm praying that this is the next one for my anti-post and also for a few multiples. 1, 2, 3 then for the 520, the Martin Pipe, Copectomy from Tap on the Go, and I'm actually going to put Minella Sixo in there as well. That's it, guys. That's the 4 days. Thanks so much for coming back. Thanks for everyone for your comments, etc. And till we meet again. Ta-ra. Take care.